Iranian activists have gathered in Paris to protest the recent crackdown against demonstrations in Iran. The demonstrators voiced their support for the recent uprising against Iran's clerical regime. About 1,500 people were killed during less than 2 weeks of unrest that started in mid-November. Iran has restricted mobile internet access in several areas following calls for new protests on social media. And another day of demonstrations are set in Iran, this time to mark the death of a protester who was killed 40 days ago. For more on what is fueling that unrest, we've invited journalist and activist Masih Alinejad back to the program. She's monitoring what is taking place inside Iran from New York City, and that's where we've reached her. So Masih, good to have you on the show again. Let's begin with the latest, which is once again the regime shutting down access to the internet. Why are they doing this? What are they trying to stop from happening?
The fear of the people. That is the simple answer, Natasha. I have to tell you that the government are very, very worried because, as you know, Reuters reported that 1,500 people were killed during last month's demonstrations. One of them was a 27-year-old protester called Puya Bakhtiari. And his parents actually asked bravely and publicly people for a public gathering. The government, the intelligence service, actually called them, interrogated them for 3 hours and asking them to stop, to canceling their plans. The family refused. So what the government has done, they arrested the whole family members of Puya Bakhtiari, including mother, father, a grandmother, and an 11-year-old boy. Can you believe that? So at least 11 family members got arrested. Why? Because they didn't want people take back to the streets. So what happened right now, people, through the videos that I have received, we see that Basiji and security forces took to the street and used force and brutality against people. That didn't stop people. People managed to get together in the city of Karaj and chanting in the video that you can clearly hear that, saying that after all these killings, we are not here to make peace with the criminals, with our murdering leader.
Masih, let me ask you this, because if we think back to 2009, Neda, who's that young woman, a protester during the Green Revolution, she was shot in the street. She really became a symbol for the revolution a decade ago. Is that what Puya is now? Has someone else turned into that symbol this time around?
Yes. Puya became a symbol among all those people who have been killed, but the family are very scared and under pressure to speak up. What made Puya to be a symbol was their parents. Her mother, Nahid, was actually with her son in the demonstrations. They were walking hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder. As soon as they faced tear gas, Nahid, Puya's mother, lost her son. And after a few minutes, she actually told me in an interview that she saw her, her son being carried on the shoulder of other people. So basically, her son got shot in the head in front of the mother. So the mother spoke out, gave interview to me and other journalists and called for public gathering. That was their crime. President Rouhani, the president of the Islamic Republic, and Javad Zarif, the foreign minister of Iran, always play victims and saying that, because of the sanction, because of the pressure from outside Iran. No, this is because of our criminals. I'm going to tell you why. Because they don't have the right to protest. They first kill the children, and then the family don't have the right to get together and mourning and have, a peaceful gathering together.
Masih,
this is the true face of the Islamic Republic.
Forgive me, allow me to jump in because there's a couple more things we want to get into this interview. One, of course, is going to be the response from the Iranian regime. When they hear things like what you're saying, they'll say the people that they stopped from demonstrating were agitators within the country, that they don't represent the Iranian public, and they will say that those people are spurred on by outside forces. They have accused various other nations of funding these protesters. So what is the response to that accusation?
Look, this is a big lie. We're receiving this accusation from who? From the government who send their children to the United States of America to live. The children of the Ayatollah, the children of the president of Iran, the children of the vice president of Iran, the children of the member of the parliament, the children of our foreign minister live in the United States of America, and what they accusing these ordinary people, the workers from working class, from middle class, who are getting together into the street to protest against the corruption, to protest against the mismanagement, they accusing them being funded by the United States of America or other countries. Then why you send your children, your own relatives to America, and you are arresting these people? Let me tell you something. Right now, I have interviewed not only the family of Puya Bakhtiari, the family of many victims who are coming from working class. One of the women was mother of a 7-year-old boy, and she was pregnant. Golnaz got shot in the chest, and she was a nurse. She was actually in the street to protesting not only against the increase of the petrol price. She was protesting against the mismanagement, that's saying clearly that if we are suffering from sanction, then why the budget of the children of the Ayatollah Khomeini and Khamenei is increased this year? Why you're sending money to Gaza, to Syria, to Lebanon? That is actually, people are suffering, and you have to listen to their voice. They are not funded by the Western country.
Masih, let me ask you one more issue related to the Western countries. Because the last time you and I spoke, you said that the international community needs to step up, that the Iranian protesters cannot be the voice by themselves. Has the international community stepped up in your eyes?
Natasha, I am very disappointed, and my heart is broken. You know why? Because let me tell you something. If it was in Saudi Arabia, in 3 days, massacre happens. More than 7,000 people get arrested. 1,500 people get killed. Then what would be the reaction of the rest of the world? Let me just start from Canada. I remember when a woman escaped from Saudi Arabia, Justin Trudeau came to her help. So right now, Puya's mother in prison, grandmother and grandfather is asking for help. The people of Iran are actually asking for help. Where is Canadian government? Canada is a big champion of human rights at the United Nations. We need Canada now to push the UN to investigate the massacre of 1,500 protesters in Iran. And this is what we need. We just hear nothing. People need free internet. And I'm going to tell you something. The Iranian state television brought the protesters to do false confession. We need the rest of the world actually to sanction the main propaganda tool of the Islamic Republic, the Iranian national television. And last thing, they shut down internet. Where is the international, technologies company? Where are Facebook? Where is Twitter? Facebook and Twitter, they are standing on the wrong side of history, because our leaders are free to access internet, but people are getting shot in the head, in the chest, but they don't have internet. So I call all the Western countries to recall all their ambassadors from Iran, because the massacre is happening. People are in prison. Internet is shut down for almost the whole country. We don't hear anything from Western country. That is actually disappointing. Okay. Not only me, human rights organization and all the human rights activists, they have to name and shame all the country to keep silent against this massacre.
We hear you, and I apologize for interrupting. We do have to go. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Masih Alinejad is an Iranian activist and journalist joining us from New York City.